G'day everybody, Terry King from Jaffa Adventures. Welcome to the channel. So if you followed along in my rig rundown, you will know now that I have airbags mounted in the back of the cruiser. And if I want to put some air into those airbags, I've got a couple of nozzles, a couple of nipples here, where I simply top them up with air from there. Now, although that system works just fine, it's a little bit of a pain in the backside because I've got to dig the airline out and then actually run it up to those nipples and fill the air up through the nipples. So in this video, what I'm going to do is install a pneumatic switch for the airbags. And this is exactly what the switch looks like that I'm going to be installing. And here's what the air on board switch panel looks like. So you obviously got up and down for the left airbag, and up and down for the right airbag, and you can see on that gauge there's actually two needles, a left needle and a right needle. On the back side, in terms of the pneumatic side of things, one airline as a supply and two airlines to feed the airbags, one for the left and one for the right. And what's this little sucker cost? There it is there, 255 bucks. That gets you the gauge, the airline, and the fittings. And this is the bit of airline that you get with the kit. I don't know how much is actually there, but it's shitloads. I'll definitely only need a quarter of that, maybe less. If you want, the gauge does actually have a 12-volt supply to it, so you could illuminate that if you wanted to. So there's a fancy schematic of the pneumatic system in my car. I got a compressor in the back of the car that feeds two airlines to the front and the rear diff lock. I got a tank located under the car, which the compressor feeds. I got 200 psi outlets, one located on the bumper on the outside of the car and one located inside the car, and then two short lines from the bumper to the airbags. So what I'll be doing to plumb the pneumatics in this system is, there's our airbag. We've got the airline that runs from the bumper to the airbag. I'll simply tee into that and run that tee to the gauge. And there's the compressor with the high pressure airline that runs to the back of the bumper. I'll simply tee into that line, and that'll be the supply for the gauge. And of course this repeats on the other side of the vehicle on the other airbag. So we've got the driver's side airbag. Now the line has been chopped and I'm putting in the T-piece. One side of the T-piece runs to the schrader valve where you inflate the airbags. The other side of the line runs to the airbag itself. And the third one will run up through this grommet into the car, and that will run up to the gauge and to the switch panel. The other thing I'll do is put some of this corrugated tubing on there, just to make sure it doesn't wear through the airline itself. Alright, both the driver's side and passenger side airbags are now up through that grommet, and we'll have to go into the back of the car and pull them through. Alright, I've got those two pneumatic lines pulled out, which is awesome. And now I need to drill the panel out just here and run those two pneumatic lines out so that they can go to the back of the gauge. Now you can see the distance between that panel and the drawers. It's got to be only maybe 6 inches or so, maybe 8 inches on the outside. So I have got this fantastic little tool to deal with something like that. So you just take your regular drill, which would never fit in there, with a drill bit on the end of it. And I've got this little sucker, which lets you drill around corners basically. So it's got a chuck that you fix your drill bit into, and then that affixes into your drill, and there you go, Bob's your uncle. You can now drill around some reasonably tight spaces. I've got those airlines pulled through now, and they're just hanging out here beside the gauge. So let's take our gauge panel and we'll just test fit it in there and throw some air in it. and see whether it actually works. All right, all 3 lines are hooked up. Left airbag, right airbag, and the pressure feed line. Let's go hit the compressor and throw some air in this system. Okay, let's pump these airbags up. We'll throw 20 psi in them, I think. 20 in the left. All right, there we have it. 20 pounds in each bag. So let's drop the air out of these. Very cool. So the next thing I'll do is build a little enclosure. It'll mount right there. So I'm going to rock this a bit old school. Bit of marine ply, pencil. So this is roughly how this box will go together. Something that resembles that. We'll glue it and screw it together now, I think. All right, we'll start out with our sides. A little bit of PVA glue. And let's zip him up. And number 3 will go back here. All right, we've got our little box made up. Just driving in the final few screws. What this little box does prove is that I'm much better working with steel than I am with timber. But one good thing is that a little bit of marine carpet on here, and it'll hide all the ugliness. All right, we got our little black box painted. Gauge pot will sit in there. 2 screws will mount it on the top. Now we can cover it in some felt. Wrap it up like a Christmas present. All right, let's pop this box in its location and see how she looks. Beautiful. Okay, let's hook up the airlines and fire it up and see how she goes. Okay, let's give this a crack. Driver side. Passenger side. Beautiful. All right, I got those bags pumped up to 30 psi, and I'll just leave them there overnight and see whether we've got any leaks in the system. I can't hear anything, so that's a good start. Well, that's it for this little project. And you know what they say, a day in the shed cannot be deducted from one's life. And that's something I truly believe and love it. Thanks for following along, everybody. Keep the shiny side up. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers. Bye now.